Now we have two presenters on stage. I think the first one I don't need to introduce. You heard him in the last session. But the second one is as important as the first one. The second one is also a very, very valuable member of the community and quite a pain in the butt sometimes, at least for me. He's criticizing so many things that we're doing at SAP, but in the end, he's usually right, and it turns out that we should listen to him. So it's always a person to listen to. That's why I would like you to have fun with these two guys now. And yeah, send me a heart. With these two guys, talk about how is the UI5 app usage in production out there. Have fun, guys.
Thank you, Tobias. All right, welcome back. A little bit on topic on the lighter side. Less code, only slides this time. So you can relax a little bit before lunch. Okay, what we did, me and Volker, we thought about, all right, there's a lot of shouting in the community. What about all the technologies and all the marketing from SAP? So we sat together and thought about how we can check what actually is going on. So we made a presentation. It's also supported from the DSAG community because I'm a member there and Volker too, so we promoted it there too. So that's, I think, a good picture of what's going on, or the feeling we have what's going on, like the tech bros shouting at you what you have to use and what's going on. So you have like a different perception what is actually going on in the SAP world, and you always feel like you're lacking behind. All the other guys are already on the public cloud and only using CAP on the PTP. So what is actually going on in the real world? So we made this questionnaire. Obviously, we have some bias because we more or less in a bubble. It's a really cool community bubble, but a bubble nonetheless. So we have 33 questions with different topics. It's more tech related and less business related. So the bubble we send it out, it's the right bubble. But we get 168 responses, which is more than we expected. So that it's really something we can work on. So first, who was actually answering the questions? So where are they working? And the biggest part is on-premise. It's either S4, ECC, or the private cloud. So if you join everything there together, it's quite the highest part of the responses we're using on-premise system. And then some private cloud, hybrid, and public cloud. And you can see already here, public cloud answers really small compared what your perception is from SAP. So how do you actually deploy? So from where to where? Like the first four are from basically your local IDE, let's say IDE bus or your computer, to either BTP or on-premise. So what would be the ideal way to use some sort of CI/CD? So that's unfortunately the answers on the right, like over the BTP DevOps or the GitHub Actions or GitLab. So that would be the ideal way to deploy your app and integrate some tests and checks in there. And then that's actually a really good slide. I feel like at Apple or Android, we can announce a lot of people already using more or less the latest version. So when you compare to the answers, like a lot of people still on ECC or on premise, they already like 2/3 are at least using 1.96, which in my opinion is a really good UI5 version to work with UI5 and Fiori Elements to create some good applications. And there are actually 2 answers using 2. Open UI5. I don't know where. Is it really in production? I really want to see the use case. All right, for the next slides, Volker is taking over.
So it's probably worth mentioning once again, this is exclusively, or the questionnaire was exclusively about UI5 application usage in production. So we're not talking about dev time, no testing, no nothing, really what is deployed in what way in a production environment. And we really made sure in every question to emphasize that. So obviously someone might have filled it out wrong with the UI5 2.x, but you never know. but just to still set the context. So what's running in production? And this is sort of a little guess game. So what type of apps are you running in production? And the answers were about 90% were freestyle apps. And this was not an exclusive answer option, so you could answer all three, basically. And the second was, are you using Fiori Elements apps in production? And only about half of people that filled out the survey said, yes, we do. And then there's this third thing that we coined standard apps, meaning apps pre-delivered by SAP that can be both freestyle and Fiori Elements, but they're pre-delivered with the S4 system. Are you using those? And this is about 67%. So keep those three numbers in mind for the next slides that put a lot more perspective into this context, I'd say. So how many freestyle applications are you running in production? Remember, about 90% are running freestyle applications in production. And it's a little small on the bottom left, but the majority have 0 to 28 apps running in production. So obviously it's at least one. But in the spectrum of 1 to 28, and there's then still quite a few that are running up to 55 apps in production, and then it thins out from the distribution. When you look at the Fiori Element applications, there's about 13 Fiori Element applications running in production, and the majority are running a small number of Fiori Elements apps in production, meaning only up to 14, which is on the bottom left. So the section between 1 and 14 apps, this is what most people or most organizations, most companies run in production when it comes to Fiori Elements apps. I would have suspected it to be more on the right side, so meaning a whole lot more small Fiori Element applications running in production, but it's actually the opposite. Then the standard apps thing shows a better distribution of numbers. So again, standard apps meaning can be anything from freestyle to Fiori Elements, but is pre-delivered by SAP. So there's about 83 apps per people, per person, per company answering the questionnaire running in production. And the majority also runs up to 29 standard applications. Then we dig a little bit deeper. Remember, we're again in the freestyle variance section. So we have, just to put the context again, you have 90% of companies, people are running freestyle apps in production. And out of those, what do you most utilize? And it's a little hard to read probably with the numbers, but the majority use the OData V2 smart controls. That's like the thing. Together with UI5 libraries. Third place, reuse components, and fourth place goes to, I think, the flexible programming model with 20 options. So that, again, clearly shows the FPM approach might be the right thing to preach, but it's not used in production anywhere near the other elements. The next couple of slides we're going to take a little quicker because it's not so important when it comes specifically to the numbers, but what the numbers convey. So this is a Fiori Element variant asking, did you develop your applications yourself, meaning bootstrap them from the ground up? So there's 1 to 5 applications running in productions that were bootstrapped from the ground up. So the majority is only running a small number of self-developed Fiori applications in production. Then did you, when you developed your applications, your Fiori Element applications, use breakouts, meaning custom sections? You know that per definition breakout as it says in the documentation. So there's the majority uses only 1 to 5 breakout enabled apps in production, Fiori Element apps. Then when it comes to standard Fiori Element variants that only require customizing, are you using those? So the majority uses those to a very small degree. And then if you have a standard app, so that basically you have available in the S4 system that can be modified code-wise, are you doing this? And the majority obviously has a very low number running of those in production. So custom extended apps. What does this mean? Do you know this picture and the story behind it? Hands up. Okay, some do. For the rest, I'll explain it quickly. So this is from World War II, when the Allies analyzed the returning bombers from the war. So the planes came in, and they analyzed where were those planes hit by other planes, and where did they take damage. And this is the picture they came up with. So most damage happened on the wing and on the tails and so on and so forth. So they conducted out of this, okay, let's enforce the wings, let's enforce the tail and send them back out so the chances are higher that the pilots are going to survive. But in fact, that's entirely the wrong conclusion. And why is that the wrong conclusion? Because they were only looking at planes that made it back. So you have to think it the other way around. The enforcement in those planes were good enough to make it back, so you need enforcements in all the black areas. And the same is a little true when you look at the Fiori Elements numbers that we conducted. So the majority of users use Fiori Element applications in productions that are somehow customized, either via code or via classic breakouts. What you should see here is the green or yellow section being the majority, meaning all Fiori Elements apps that have those capabilities should be used in production, including the utilized capabilities, but they don't. See where I'm getting at? So it's entirely the wrong thing that this diagram conveys. So I would expect all Fiori elements that are extendable to be extended, so they are customized for the production use case, but they're not. Then testing. I don't even want to talk about it, honestly. And my favorite answer, there was a free text form in there that you could put additional context to, is we have had tests but lost them all. However that works. Yeah, you see the numbers, so what's there to say? Poor you. I mean, how do you quality assure? How do you make sure your business processes continue to run in production when you make code changes? I mean, how?
Either you don't or manually.
Well, still poor you if you have to do it manually. So bootstrapping new applications, the dominants are the Fiori tools because they're in bus and they're available there. Runner-up is easy UI5 with all the options, and then stab me in the heart, copy existing apps. Yeah, of course, that's the quickest way, but you build up technical depth. But we'll get to this later on in our interpretation what this means. IDEs, so VS Code is ruling the world, so to speak. Follow up with Buzz, some Eclipse, and then JetBrains. Not surprisingly, I'd say. What does this mean? If you interpret the numbers, or if you draw personal conclusions like we did. So the first thing is, if you look at what freestyle applications are composed of in production, I think we need OData v4 smart controls. So you can call it any way you want, be it a subsection of the flexible programming model. You can coin new terms if you want, but it just stands there. The v2 smart controls are so extensively used for a reason. And I think it would be a proper thing to have v4-enabled smart controls. Then make the Fiori Elements applications easier to break out and extend. So the majority of Fiori Element-generated applications can be easier customized for production scenarios. I don't know if that is a development experience thing that you need to do or a technical thing. At least that's something that would be highly appreciated. What else can I say? I mean, if you tell this story, and this is serious now, if we're business computing, business applications, we're in enterprise software, and you're telling this to the outside world, I mean, they laugh at you. Every little web framework has more tests than you have with your business applications.
You really sound like a disappointed parent in your child.
Well, in a way, that's true. Then please stop copying existing apps. I mean, the bootstrap tools are there in Fiori tools, in Bus, with the easy UI5 generator. And I get it, it's easy, yeah? But you're building up a lot of technical depth. There's only one small mistake in your app, and it's going to be in all apps that you copy-paste from it. Not to speak with the updated dependencies, with all the generating tools, we take care, at least in the community, about the dependencies every once in a while. If you copy-paste, you take on the old stuff over to the new applications. So just don't.
Yeah, and all the options you saw on the chart are better options than just copy-pasting. Like Fiori tools, there are so many options already there. Easy UI5 generator, if you go to the talk from Nico, he really rewrote a lot of things. And if maybe you can even, like only 5%, but creating your own generator is maybe easier than you think. Like there's the easy UI5 generator, just look at how he developed it and how all the other custom generators for all the apps and stuff like that. So you can just have a look there, how you can create your own applications. Maybe you have a custom process, your own proxy, you always want to integrate it. But that's always a better idea to just copy-paste your app, because if there's an error, there will be the error in the next 50 apps. They just copy the current app.
And then the numbers also clearly showed that VS Code is there for a reason in pro code development. I get the ideas behind Bus, but I think what would be a viable way is to look at Bus less of an IDE, but more of a gateway to your existing SAP landscape. If that could be the future focus, I think that again would be highly appreciated. And this is personal wish list to some extent, sure, but it's deducted from numbers. So it's not just that I'm making this up.
And especially because sometimes Bus has no alternative. Because in the enterprise world, usually with VPNs and root certificates and everything is locked down, it's pretty hard to get VS Code running on locally, so you have no other option than Bus. And then if the Bus is lacking or the performance is worse, you just really, really get frustrated with that.
And then make automated deployments. You saw in the second slide how the UI5 applications get onto the production systems. It was predominantly either from the developer computer, come on, or from Bus itself, come on. I mean, CI/CD is a thing for a reason, and please utilize it. I think it might be an option to have a UI5 tooling thing, probably called UI5 DevOps or so, where you have predefined templates that you can utilize for GitHub, for GitLab, so on and so forth. But as long as there is no UI5 tooling plugin, please just do it yourselves. It's not difficult. And it's a lot more error safe, meaning the manual deployments are error prone. You rely on a certain guy or girl that is just there to deploy stuff. Oh, she's on vacation, too bad, no deployment today into production. So, I mean, there's better options. You have all the raw data and the links available on Marian's GitHub page, where you can download it and you look at the numbers yourself, interpret them yourselves if you want, or follow along with us with our interpretation of the numbers.
And plus, we say that was the first time we did the survey. That's like a snapshot, but we really want to redo it maybe even next year and the years after to really have a look how the numbers are developing and hopefully improving, especially with tests.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, gentlemen, you made me sad. Or you guys made me sad. No tests? Seriously? Okay, questions. We start here in the front.
Well, not exactly a question, maybe a product suggestion. Hopefully I'm gonna represent some customers, partners, and so on with that. Have you ever considered creating a Fiori Apps Reference Library for customers, so they can register the apps they create, no matter if it's freestyle, Fiori Elements, and so on. And then you can get this kind of information on real time based on what customers might register on that.
Look to your left and let the chief PO answer.
Okay, to be honest, we did not yet think about it, but it's worthwhile to do it.
So the Fiori tools collect quite a bit of telemetry.
Okay.
So if you are in the Fiori tools box, we actually know the amount of application you're deploying, which amount of application you're generating, if they are freestyle, if they're elements. I'm not sure what numbers I can share. That's why I'm not sharing any numbers right now. I didn't get a message back from the CPOs yet. But we also collect some of these information, and we actually adopt our tools based on that. So sometimes there are changes in the Fiori tools exactly based on these numbers. And I definitely want to talk to you guys about some of your numbers because they're interesting. They're very interesting, not matching exactly what we see. That doesn't mean that one or the other is wrong, but I really like to understand some of them better.
Okay,
Yeah,
then sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought it's about bringing custom developed app into the Fiori reference app library that are visible. That was
I misunderstood, sorry.
okay. Then
Sorry.
okay, that's why because the telemetry, yes, obviously clear, but this specific aspect is something that we really have to think about. Yeah, why not?
Sorry, Stefan.
Oh, good.
Next question.
Up there.
Nice.
Thanks for the presentation. I had a question regarding the point about the copying of the Fiori apps and obviously discouraging that. As you know, the standard Fiori apps, they kind of come in a package with their own OData services as well. I've seen questions asked or cases where the OData service that comes with a standard Fiori app is reused, as in not modified, but maybe used to either develop a custom Fiori app or used for integration purposes. Do you have a view on that? What are your thoughts on that?
We only asked about modifying the app itself without any backend connectivity or any protocol. So there is no data in the questionnaire about this. Sorry.
That's right. But from your experience, do you have an opinion on that concept?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's always the question, like either use a standard app or create your own app on top of other services, or maybe combine the services. So like changing standard Fiori apps is not that easy. It gets easier if they use more of the newer Fiori Elements adaptations, and then you can change it more easily. But usually, in my experience, it tends towards creating your own application and maybe even creating your own OData service, but then use the CDS or maybe even like the RAP services just on your own OData service. So don't reuse the OData service in the UI5 app, but reuse the service or what's behind the service more in the RAP layer below.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot for the presentation. So you mentioned this might be also in a bubble. How much do you feel this information came from a bubble? Because I have a feeling this testing coverage might be actually worse than shown there. I'm actually quite surprised that there are 10% using VDI5. Well, I'm happy about that. I like VDI5. So I've actually been on a call with you once about some issue with that. So
Yeah, so I feel that it was launched via the DSAG, which is pretty well known, and the poll was supported by the DSAG. So the audience, in my opinion, was pretty mixed between business focused people and technical people. But on the social media channels where we posted it, you certainly only reached the tech crowd. So I'd say it's a tech bias. That's just my personal interpretation. We did not collect any usage data whatsoever, but that's my personal opinion. So it's slightly tech-oriented with less business people having filled out the questionnaire.
Okay, thank you. And another remark maybe about automated deployment. I feel like there should be more from the conferences here, or the unconferences like Recap and UI5 Con about automated deployment. I really miss the topics about cloud transport management and CI/CD. I don't there wasn't anything this year. I don't think there was anything last year. And I feel like it's missing the best practices on it, because it's something that I had to do a lot, like the scenarios integrating, for example, Azure DevOps or GitHub together and into like a dev, test, and production sub-account landscape. And I feel like there should be more about that, like workshops, presentations. I put it on a suggestion board, but I would like to say it again.
I'm with you. So my pet peeve is DevOps and so CI/CD and testing, and I fully agree with that.
Yeah. I just disagree with the no content. Last year I had a presentation about VDR5. I think there was another one as well just beside me. So
No, but that's testing, but deployment.
oh, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
no,
I'm taking specifically about deployment,
Yeah.
cloud transport management, CI/CD. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's part of it. You're right, but for deployment, because it's a big part.
fair enough.
You guys know I love you, but we have another presentation in 4 minutes, so I need to usher you off stage. I know there was another question over there. These guys also have an expert corner. Please go ask them there, or just grab them when they go off stage.
Yeah, it's
and
at 6
thanks
PM,
a lot.
6 p.m. at the beer box over there.
Even better, yeah.
My
That's the
expert
expert corner. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.